Welcome to the History AI podcast, where the past comes alive with facts, anecdotes, and a dash of humor. Here are your hosts, Chuck and Marco.
Welcome back to the History AI podcast. I'm Chuck.
And I'm Marco. Today, we're diving into the extraordinary life of Joe Medicine Crow, a Native American hero, historian, and the last war chief of the Crow tribe.
His life is a remarkable blend of tradition, valor, and wisdom. Let's start from the beginning, shall we? Joe Medicine Crow's early life is a fascinating tale of tradition and transition. Born on October 27, 1913, in the heart of the Crow Reservation in Montana, his childhood was deeply rooted in the Crow heritage.
That's right. He was born into a family steeped in the warrior tradition. His grandfather, White Man Runs Him, was not just a revered tribal member but also a scout for General Custer during the Battle of the Little Bighorn.
Imagine growing up with stories of Custer's last stand told by someone who was actually there. This connection to his history wasn't just anecdotal, it shaped his identity.
Absolutely. Joe's early years were under the watchful eyes of his grandparents. His paternal grandmother, Yellowtail Woman, also played a pivotal role in his upbringing, teaching him the Crow language and culture.
And let's not forget about his mother, Amy Yellowtail Medicine Crow. She was a skilled beadworker and a respected member of the tribe. Joe often spoke of how her artistic skills and dedication to Crow traditions influenced his appreciation for his cultural heritage.
Speaking of traditions, Joe was immersed in them. From a young age, he participated in traditional Crow ceremonies and practices. He learned about the Crow creation stories, the significance of the Sweat Lodge, and the importance of the Vision Quest in Crow culture.
He didn't just learn about his culture, he lived it. His early education was a mix of traditional Crow ways and a more formal education at the mission school on the reservation.
Right, and despite the pressures of assimilation during that era, Joe managed to navigate these two worlds. He became a bridge between the traditional Crow way of life and the rapidly changing world around him.
His upbringing was a true blend of the old and the new, preparing him for the extraordinary life that lay ahead. Joe Medicine Crow's early years were a testament to the strength and resilience of the Crow people and their culture.
Joe Medicine Crow's talents and educational journey are as remarkable as his heritage. His intellectual curiosity and natural abilities shone through early on.
Definitely. Joe wasn't just a bright student, he was a multifaceted talent. He excelled academically, but his abilities extended far beyond the classroom.
His prowess in athletics, for instance, was notable. He participated in various sports, showcasing not just physical strength but also leadership and teamwork skills.
And let's not forget his musical talents. Joe was an accomplished harmonica player. He had a natural ear for music, often blending traditional Crow melodies with more contemporary tunes.
That's right. But his academic journey is equally fascinating. After completing his early education on the Crow Reservation, he ventured beyond his community for higher education, which was quite rare at the time for Native Americans.
He first attended Linfield College in Oregon. It was a significant transition, moving from the reservation to a predominantly non-native environment. But Joe adapted with resilience, maintaining his cultural identity while excelling in this new setting.
After Linfield, he moved to the University of Southern California, where he made history. In 1939, he became the first member of the Crow tribe to earn a master's degree. His thesis was a groundbreaking work on Crow history and culture.
The subject of his master's thesis speaks volumes about his commitment to his heritage. He focused on the effects of European and American expansion on the Crow tribe during the 19th century. This work was not just academic, it was personal, preserving the stories and history of his people.
His time at USC also showcased his adaptability and intelligence. He navigated the academic rigors and cultural challenges with remarkable grace and determination.
Joe's educational journey was a trailblazing path that highlighted his intellectual prowess, cultural dedication, and a deep commitment to bridging his indigenous heritage with the broader world.
Joe Medicine Crow's decision to join the fight in World War II is a story of courage and a deep sense of duty. It wasn't just a decision to serve his country, it was a commitment to honor his ancestors and the warrior tradition of the Crow people.
Absolutely, Marco. You see, for Joe, the war was a call that resonated with his cultural heritage. The Crow have a rich warrior tradition, and Joe grew up hearing stories of bravery and valor from his grandfather and other elders.
These stories weren't just tales of the past. They were lessons about courage, honor, and the responsibilities of a warrior. Joe took these lessons to heart, seeing the war as a platform to live up to the legacy of his ancestors.
Remember, this was a time when Native Americans were still fighting for their rights and recognition in the United States. Joe's decision to fight was also a statement about his identity as an American and as a Native American.
Right, Chuck. It was a complex decision. On one hand, he was joining a fight for a country that had marginalized his people. On the other hand, he saw it as fulfilling his duty as a Crow warrior, defending not just his homeland but also the principles of freedom and justice.
There's also a personal angle to it. Joe's cultural background placed great emphasis on personal valor and the concept of counting coup, achieving a brave deed in battle. World War II presented a real-life context for him to live out these principles.
And let's not forget, when Joe enlisted, he carried with him the blessings and teachings of his community. He was not just a soldier, he was a representative of the Crow people, carrying their spirit and history with him.
His entry into World War II was a melding of two worlds, his Crow heritage and his American identity. This dual sense of duty guided his actions throughout the war and played a crucial role in his later achievements on and off the battlefield. Joe Medicine Crow's military service during World War II is not just a story of a soldier in combat, it's a tale of a man bridging the ancient warrior traditions of the Crow people with the modern battlefield.
Absolutely, Chuck. Enlisting in the U.S. Army in 1943, he became a scout in the 103rd Infantry Division. But Joe didn't enter the war as an ordinary soldier. He carried with him the weight and honor of his Crow heritage.
And that heritage played a critical role. According to Crow tradition, to become a war chief, a warrior had to complete 4 coups, or acts of bravery, touching an enemy without killing him, taking an enemy's weapon, leading a successful war party, and stealing an enemy's horse.
These weren't just symbolic acts for Joe, they were a tangible link to his ancestry. In the European theater, he embodied these coups. One notable instance was when he disarmed a German soldier, fulfilling the coup of taking an enemy's weapon.
Not just disarmed Marco. He literally wrestled the soldier into submission in hand-to-hand combat. And in true Crow tradition, he didn't take the soldier's life.
Then there's the incredible story of the horse theft. Joe led a daring raid on a German farm housing SS officers' horses. He successfully led the charge, driving away 50 horses and singing a Crow honor song as they escaped.
It's like something out of a legend, Marco. But for Joe, this was a profound act of honoring his ancestors. This wasn't just a military operation, it was fulfilling a cultural rite of passage.
His leadership in battle also shone through. Joe led several successful missions, often in reconnaissance, embodying the Crow tradition of the war leader.
And let's not overlook the first coup, touching an enemy without killing him. Joe achieved this in a particularly dangerous encounter, proving his bravery and adherence to the traditions of his people.
Post-war, his acts of valor were recognized by the Crow people. In a ceremony steeped in tradition and history, Joe Medicine Crow was officially named a war chief, the last traditional Crow war chief.
His service was a remarkable fusion of two warrior cultures, the traditional Crow and the American military. Joe didn't just fight in the war, he wove his identity and heritage into his service, leaving a legacy that bridged centuries of warrior tradition.
After World War II, Joe Medicine Crow's life took a path dedicated to education, history, and cultural preservation. His post-war years were as impactful as his time in service, if not more.
That's right, Marco. Joe returned from the war not just as a hero but as a living embodiment of the Crow warrior tradition. But he didn't rest on his laurels. He plunged into a life of scholarship and advocacy.
One of his major contributions was as a historian and author. Joe authored several books and numerous articles about Crow history and culture. His works are considered seminal in the field of Native American studies.
His writings were more than just historical accounts, they were narratives imbued with the Crow perspective, offering insights into the tribe's oral history, traditions, and beliefs.
And his commitment to education was profound. Joe became a lecturer and an educator, sharing his knowledge at colleges and cultural institutions. He was a sought-after speaker, known for captivating audiences with his storytelling skills and deep knowledge.
he also played a crucial role in preserving the Crow language. Recognizing the threat of language loss, Joe was instrumental in language revitalization efforts, ensuring that future generations of Crow people could speak their native tongue.
Beyond academia, Joe was a cultural ambassador. He represented the Crow people and Native Americans at various national and international forums, advocating for indigenous rights and cultural preservation.
His advocacy wasn't just in words, it was in actions too. He served on several boards and committees focused on Native American issues, influencing policies and raising awareness about the challenges and aspirations of indigenous communities.
Joe's role in the Crow community was that of a leader and a bridge between generations. He was a custodian of Crow traditions, ensuring they were passed down in an era of rapid change.
And let's not forget his recognition at the highest levels. In 2009, President Barack Obama awarded Joe the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the United States' highest civilian honor, acknowledging his contributions to the nation and his people.
His life after the war was a testament to his multifaceted personality: a warrior, a historian, an educator, and an advocate. Joe Medicine Crow's post-war years were a blend of dedication, scholarship, and an unwavering commitment to his cultural heritage. Joe Medicine Crow's passing on April 3, 2016, at the age of 102, marked the end of an era. His death was not just a loss to the Crow tribe but to all who valued history, culture, and the resilience of the human spirit.
Indeed, Joe's death was met with widespread mourning and respect. Tributes poured in from around the world, reflecting the broad impact of his life and work.
He left behind a legacy that transcends his accomplishments in war and academia. Joe was a living bridge between the ancient traditions of the Crow people and the modern world.
His impact on preserving and promoting Native American history and culture is immeasurable. Through his books, lectures, and advocacy, he brought the stories of the Crow people to a broader audience, fostering a deeper understanding and respect for indigenous cultures.
Joe also played a pivotal role in educating future generations. He inspired young Native Americans to embrace their heritage and pursue education. His life served as a powerful example of how one could honor one's cultural roots while navigating and succeeding in the broader world.
His contributions to historical scholarship are also significant. Joe's research and writings provided invaluable insights into the Crow culture and history, making a lasting contribution to the field of Native American studies.
In terms of cultural preservation, Joe's efforts in reviving and sustaining the Crow language and traditions have ensured that these vital aspects of Crow identity continue to thrive.
On a national level, Joe Medicine Crow's story is a reminder of the rich tapestry of American history and the significant role Native Americans have played in shaping it.
His legacy is also seen in the increased awareness and recognition of the contributions of Native Americans in U.S. military history. Joe's life story has been a source of inspiration for many in understanding the complex history of indigenous peoples in the U.S. military.
In summary, Joe Medicine Crow's death marked the loss of a remarkable individual, but his legacy endures in the rich history he documented, the cultural traditions he preserved, and the countless lives he inspired. He remains a symbol of resilience, wisdom, and the enduring strength of the Crow people. Joe Medicine Crow's story is a testament to the human spirit. His life was a blend of bravery, tradition, and wisdom.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through Joe Medicine Crow's life. If you enjoyed our podcast, please subscribe, rate, and share.
Stay curious, and keep exploring history's fascinating stories. Until next time, this is Chuck and Marco, signing off from the History AI Podcast. From the mind behind the History AI Podcast comes an electrifying journey into the past. A ripple through time, Franklin's Folly. Dive into a tale where Benjamin Franklin, America's beloved inventor, takes an unexpected journey through time. But with his leap, he unleashes a powerful ripple. Now, with dark forces lurking in the shadows, harnessing this energy to shatter and enslave the world, it's a race against time. Will Franklin fix the future? Or will history rewrite itself? Uncover the secrets. A ripple through time, Franklin's Folly. Time has never been more fragile. On Amazon now.